Now, ArcAGI version 1 took 5 years to go from 0% to 5% with leading frontier models. So this is new territory in the ArcAGI world. This is especially important because human performance is comparable at 85% threshold. And we have never tested a system that has done this or any model that has done this beforehand. So being above this is a major milestone. And this is the new #1 entry on ArcAGI pubs. As a capabilities demonstration, when we ask O3 to think longer and we actually ramp up to high compute, O3 was able to score 85.7% on the same hidden holdout set. It has scored 75.7 on ArcAGI's semi-private holdout set. This is extremely impressive because this is within the compute requirements that we have for our public leaderboard. However, today, I'm very excited to say that O3 has scored a new state-of-the-art score that we have verified.
So it's no secret that the vibes have been off for these announcements, and people have been somewhat let down by Sora being botched to release, and then O1 not really performing the way all the people hyping it up was performing. The thing here and why I'm making a video is these benchmarks from Arc AGI, which is like an independent third party. This benchmark is showing such a big jump between O1 and O3, and some of the other benchmarks that were showing the coding and math jumps that have happened. This kind of represents a step change for how these models will reason. And overall, this step change means the limitations that you've gotten used to in the past few months here are going to change. Some of the use cases that you may have been trying to make the model work with that were failing before might all of a sudden start working really well. And so, what does that mean overall? Those are the kind of questions I want to answer and take a look at, how does it interact with the agent landscape? I was expecting OpenAI to announce something around AI agents, but that may come later, may not. Either way, as the models improve, the reliability, the reasoning capability, the tool use capability of these agents improve. So the big question on everyone's mind is going to be, how do I remain competitive, especially in an age where a model can do my task in half the time I can do the task, or maybe if something that took my company 12 months to implement, a model can give a near instant response for it. How do I remain competitive in that landscape? And I think the priority just has to shift for most people, and it's shifting for me as well, which is you need to go from individual agents, trying to make those work, trying to get those into production and fiddling around with POCs and MVPs and demos, to just actually building out agent teams that are ready to use for business. And then just making sure those work. And I think overall, just shifting your focus from let's try it out, let's dabble in it, to okay, this is what we're doing. We're setting a direction and just really building as if these models have already reached a level that you need them to, and then being able to swap them in later on is going to be pretty advantageous for you. And so again, focusing on vertical integration, I've talked about this like I think a lot, but vertical integration versus going for the platform play. Unless you're a big player, go for your platform play. But vertical integration is going to be important. Even top companies are doing this, right? Salesforce is a sales company, CRM. They're using Agentforce. Devin, which is focusing on the software development workflow, that's another one. And then that inter-agent communication. So having strong primitives around agent communication, not trying to have the agents do everything. I think people see these different frameworks and these different models and think, okay, if I send the LLMs, a question, or I send it a command, it should then go off and do every single task on its own. We have existing software systems, we have AIs, we have integrations. Let the agents do the thing they're good at, but you don't need to have it execute 100% autonomously. And then so also the engineering evolution right now. So if you are a coder, someone who's super technical, you're going to have to think beyond just the code and start to think at the architecture level and bring that expertise to whatever organization you're in. I'll use myself as an example. I have been building up my own projects, but I sometimes need to move outside of just coding it day to day, look at the bigger architecture picture. I'll even give Devin a task or two at the start of my day. I'll even use Cursor, go get a cup of coffee, let Cursor run a couple things. So moving up the stack and trying to leverage these tools instead of competing with them is going to be in your advantage. And so, how will the future of knowledge work change? I think this is another big question people have. And I've thought about this a little bit. There's two sides of it, right? You're going to be either someone who owns a business or you're looking for jobs and you're working as a freelancer or you're doing gig economy stuff. This is going to depend on where you really specialize. But I think using agents, using AI, getting good at this is just another skill set, like using a spreadsheet, because it's just going to be fundamental knowledge at this point. Everyone knows about these. It's not a secret. And people have been trying it out for 2-ish years. So by this point, if you haven't picked up the skill set, and this is in an area that you work in, make it a priority to go out there and start to update your skill set if needed. And I think rapid application development is going to be expected from everybody now. I think one of the first videos that made Cursor really popular was like an 8-year-old deploying something to the cloud. So it's not terribly difficult anymore. You still need a little bit of technical knowledge, but you really don't need much. You don't need to go get a PhD from Stanford or anything. You don't need to get a CS degree. You don't have to spend 4 years studying computer science. You don't even need to grind leak code and do a bunch of data structures and algorithms. A bit of basic knowledge goes a long way. And I think in the future, what we're going to see is instead of a PowerPoint presentation that you're going to bring to a client or bring to a meeting, just bring an app. Share an app that everyone can just use directly in the meeting and do it in an interactive way and drive some type of outcome right there instead of these long cycles. That kind of brings me to my second point. These like traditional 3 to 12-month engagements and these development cycles are going to basically be replaced by instantaneously AI driven solutions. And the first objection I hear, and I hear this all the time, I even say it, is, oh, the quality is going to be bad. The quality. Yeah, the quality is going to be bad. But if you think about it, McDonald's doesn't make the most healthy food on the planet, yet it's one of the most profitable businesses out there. Now, you may not agree with what they're serving, but it's not about quality. People go to McDonald's for a quick, cheap, easy, fast meal. I order something off the menu. I have it within 2 minutes. I was hungry. Now I'm full. And so that's going to be the same thing with AI. Although humans may do more quality work, it will take longer. And so people are going to prefer the speed and the pace of an AI solution that just delivers it almost instantaneously. And with these new models that are coming out, especially like something like O3, if you think about all the AI coding solutions right now that are providing you with a landing page or like a static front end, once they get really good at the back end, it's not going to be about like, can you stand up an app in an afternoon? It's going to be, well, can I actually just build out the infrastructure for a real product, not an MVP, in a few days? Maybe not an afternoon, but a few days. That's going to be the step change. And I think there's going to be like a new AI literacy requirement. You're just not going to get away with not understanding some of the basic parts of AI agents because your competitors will be using it, people competing with you will be using it. Every day I bump into someone talking about AI agents that I would never think they would be talking about AI agents. They're moving into all different types of spaces. Now, when O3 comes out and these new models come out, they're going to become so much easier to work with, so much easier to use that everyday people are going to be using natural language to prompt these agents. It's going to be very commonplace. And so there's going to be elevated customer expectations, which means that's going to trickle down into all types of business and knowledge work. It's going to have to move faster. So if you think about it from this perspective, how Netflix kind of transformed entertainment, we know this story. It's the classic story, right? No one's going to go drive downtown to pick up a DVD. No, we expect that when we pull up our browser, we go to some link, we get the movie that we want. That's going to be the step change that's happening. And if you're not moving at that pace right now, I would say get up to speed and try to move at that pace. The next question here is, can we take humans out of the loop? This is the goal, like 100% autonomous agents. We're definitely not there yet. I don't think with O3 it's going to be there yet still, but that's like the North Star everyone's moving towards. And the advantage is not only in just the agent operating on one task autonomously, it's like doing multiple things in parallel. I'll use myself as an example. As someone who codes, I cannot physically type on more than one keyboard at a time. Actually, I've seen some people do it. They have the split keyboard stuff, but I cannot type on one more than one keyboard at a time. I am limited by that. I only have 24 hours in a day. Now, if I spin up 10 agents and I give them very specific instructions and they're working on 50 repos on my behalf, that's a different level of productivity that just does not exist today. It's just going to be a massive change because there should be a reduction in supervision. I won't need to be directly watching what the agent does. Even with Devin now that I'm using, I still have to check on it every couple minutes and see if it got stuck and get it unstuck, or maybe change my instructions and try to get it to work. But there's going to be no need to just keep watching these agents run, and they should just run in the background and work at a certain reliability level. And there's definitely companies out there right now that are doing this, but of course you have to sign these really expensive enterprise agreements before you get that type of functionality. Workflow automation is going to be another one where I think people are not going to see this one coming, but RPA really is just a connection of API endpoints and maybe a couple clicks in different pieces of software. Once computer use matures out, computer use seems like it's maturing pretty quickly on the, at least from Anthropic with the MCP protocol. Once that matures out pretty quickly, once these models get really good at writing their own API integrations, they're still pretty brittle right now, but you should be able to just prompt the model, say, okay, I need these two tools connected. Every time something happens in tool A, make sure something happens in tool B, write that integration for me. That is going to eliminate a wide swath of consulting work, a wide swath of different brittle RPA workflow stuff. That's coming. I don't know if it's going to happen when O3 launches, but definitely within a year or two, I can see that functionality happening. You can set up a Cloudflare worker, send a prompt through Claude, and it'll launch a little mini server for you that will take some type of action. And resource optimization. So instead of like the human focusing on connecting the two tools and making sure, the step-by-step workflow works, you can just zoom out and move to the architecture level where you're looking at different systems and then stringing those bigger systems together. So you might still be stringing things together, but they're bigger systems, more complex jobs that need to be get completed, less like detailed tasks. The final question really is, can you make the jump to AI agents? And with O3, there's going to be a divide. I can see this right now because OpenAI, almost maybe on purpose, has let down with some of these announcements. People are not going to really understand that O3 is going to be a jump. If these benchmarks are true and it pans out that when they release the model, it passes all the vibe checks, but this is going to be a massive jump. A lot of use cases that weren't working before will start working. And so I'm going to come back to this and you can say if I'm wrong or not. And what's going to happen is those who are early adopters are going to have the advantage. They're just going to have a lot of the critical infrastructure in place to move quickly. Basically, I'll take myself as an example. There's a couple of apps that I already have written out that use OpenAI on the back end. All I need to do is basically switch out which model that's getting used and then take advantage of that. If you haven't been building any apps, you don't know how to build an AI agent, you don't know how to get an open AI key, yeah, that's going to take you some time to get set up. But let's say you're an organization of 100 people. Did you plan to onboard everyone before O3 release? That's in a month and a half. It's just going to take some time to ramp up. So if you don't have the infrastructure and the data in place, you're not going to be able to take advantage of these really advanced models that can do math and coding at a PhD level. And so from O3 on, it's going to move at speed because it's going to feel like every single release is going to be widening the gap between those who are able to take advantage of it and those who are not able to take advantage of it. Because they're performing at such a high level, that little incremental bump is going to be significant because even right now, the models are good enough. To be honest, like they could stop developing the models today and they will be good enough to where I think everyone would still get a massive boost in productivity, massive boost in producing value. So now every little bit that comes on top of that is just going to be icing on the cake. And so strategic preparation probably needed to happen last year. So if you're still a bit behind, you're just going to have to make a jump. There's going to be a widening gap in technology. Technology moves pretty quickly. So every 6 months, I would say things kind of change under you and you have to be able to adapt every 6 months. Okay, so your question is probably, what should I actually do then? And I think one of the best things you can do is move to the service as software model. And this is a flip on the traditional SaaS and using AI agents to do most of the fulfillment for you and also help you in terms of reducing your operational costs, reducing your overhead, but also increasing your efficiency. So if you want to learn a little bit more about my take on agentic SaaS, you can go ahead and watch this video here.